having the sampler go through and auto select these regions of it, so you can go through with your keyboard and you can trigger those regions with your keyboard to play that sound out. It's really fascinating, the kind of sampling that you can do with it. Gosh, I mean, there's just so much production you can do with it. So as it goes for podcasting, I wonder if I'm going to use Logic. I think Logic, well, and really honestly, like most of the audio production stuff that I would do, even to its small degree, which I mean, honest to God, it's really nothing. I could do this on my phone, or not that my phone is great, but just I'm not doing anything, right? So I might, I stopped using Sonar because it was kind of overkill to do the multi-tracking stuff. For just a podcast. For some audio or mastering stuff, it seems like I have a grip of how to do the editing in Logic maybe a little better than I do in Audition, even though I've been using Audition for years. I kind of have the same process and stuff, but there's sort of a way that this is something I don't understand yet. And if someone that actually understands Logic has listened to any of this, they should tell me about it. But it seems like in Audition, when you have an audio file like a wave loaded into the program and you're looking at it and editing it, if you were to apply, say, an EQ effect or a compressor, once you have those settings and then you apply it, it'll render that change to the wave, and you have to wait for it. You have to wait like 20 seconds when you apply an effect, like a hard limiter or a compressor or a de-esser, and it'll change the full waveform that you're seeing there. In Logic, it seems, I guess, more like a non-destructive editor where you have your original waveform in your track, and then over in the mixer you can apply sends, or you can apply these effects as a stack that you can turn on and off, and it'll kind of live mix that section of audio that you're hearing. And so you can stack on a compressor first, change those settings, and stack on an EQ, and then stack on a de-esser, and then stack on a limiter or something at the end of that, or a limiter on your master output, something. I don't know. I think that's how you're supposed to do it. So you can do that, and then you can change those settings, and you're not really adapting the original waveform, or you're not doing that in a stage where if you turn one on or one off, that you're kind of rendering the whole file in advance. I don't know if I have that totally right, but that's something I'm trying to figure out. So some things that you notice from that is Audition, or programs that kind of bake in the setting effect that you're making a change to, seem to operate a lot faster. I think because the track is sort of rendered and frozen, and the processor is not having to do any live rendering of added effects on top of the file that's already trying to have to grab that file and then play that file, and then add another layer of digital processing to it that you selected through changing settings, and then render those settings to the wave file as it plays it without much latency. Man, it just sounds like a lot of tasks to do. So I guess when you have like a bigger Logic project with 24 instrument tracks, all with compressors and limiters and whatever other effects changes there are on it, apparently it's just really processor intensive, and it I don't know, I've already noticed, like, even just with a few of the smaller demo projects that they have installed with it, and even with my computer being okay, it's already like hit like a CPU overload a few times. And Logic producers have talked about this a ton of times. There's a bunch of videos out there on like how to stop your CPU overload messages. Some of it's talking about changing your buffer size. Some of it's talking about selecting tracks and freezing them. There's a process called freezing a track, sort of similar to what we just talked about with Audition, where you're kind of baking in or rendering that track out so that the processor doesn't have to